So let's say you're an art director and I want to win you over, and you've got a desk, you got an office somewhere, and you've got clients, you got a boss. Okay. So I always say someone you're pitching has a boss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That boss could be very demanding. They usually have a client that they're interacting with, and that client can be very demanding. Okay. So they have a boss that's demanding, a client that's very demanding, and then they're all working on a budget.
Yep.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. That makes sense. And generally they're overworked
Mm-hmm.
because everyone I hire people, I overwork them, right? Because that's what I want to get the best out of my money investing into that person. So
Yep.
I'm going to make sure they're running around, not sitting there on their phone texting, right? Get to work,
Yep.
right? So they have all this going on, and then um, they're pressured. They got deadlines. Forget about that one.
Mm-hmm.
They have deadlines. Okay. So now I make the phone call and you answer the phone and I say, "Hey, Joel Grimes, I'm a photographer and I'd love to come in and show my portfolio." And you're going, "I am so busy."
Yeah.
And let's say you're rude to me, like,
Yeah. I'm good,
I don't
Joel.
have time for photographers.
Yeah.
And they hang up on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, that happened to me hundreds, if not thousands of times. I made 3,000 cold calls my first year in business.
That's crazy.
And so, but when I was initially making that phone call, I didn't understand the person that I was talking to. I didn't
Yeah.
understand who they were. But not only does that art director have a boss who's demanding, a client who's demanding budgets, deadlines, and everything else, they have a life outside of their
Of
job.
course. Yeah.
And they could be going through a divorce, or they have a newborn at home that's teething, that's keeping them up all night, whatever. They now have a whole nother set of things that they're dealing with in life.
Yep.
Okay. So what I learned is that, going back to a second, is I would work so hard on my photography skills. I
Yeah.
wanted to be the best photographer around, right? But what I didn't realize that being the best photographer wasn't the most important thing.
Yep.
The most important thing is that I saved that person from a crisis, overworked, a boss that was very demanding, and make their life easier.
Absolutely.
That's the single most important thing that I have to do in my business, is make the experience of hiring a photographer a process in which that takes the weight off of them. And so let me do one other thing that I want. I know this is getting a little long here, and I don't want to go too long.
No. You're
That
good.
that the single so the reason why I get a phone call back, okay, "Hey Joel, could you come in? We got a project," is because that art director, art buyer, whoever, photo editor, is really in a crisis.
Yeah.
Their main photographer's gone. Their second one's on vacation, or one's getting married. They're out of on 2-week break, whatever. And all of a sudden, the boss, the client, the pressures, the deadline, the budgets all come together, and they need a photographer. And guess what? Joel keeps calling,
Yep.
and and they call me because they're in a crisis. So I say that in the early days, probably 90% of all jobs I ever got was not because of my great photography skills, but because I happened to get my name into their brain, so that when they had a crisis, they called me. And so it was a big blow to my ego and I still work on my portfolio, by the way, and try to get the best pictures. But it was a blow to my photography that my photography skills, that they were hiring me because they were desperate.
Yeah. Well, you're touching on something here that. And number one, by the way, the whole reason this is long form is so you can literally say anything you want, talk about whatever we want. There is no agendas whatsoever. So one of the things that you touched on, and I think is a huge reason for, again, what I would say is most photographers, most people in general, we tend to get lost in the technical craft of what we're doing, and we think that's the product that we're actually selling. Right. And what you said about the piano was very important. The line that you said to your son, right, where you told your son, this is it's not so much about the getting the notes right. It's the emotion. It's the experience. It's the, two souls communicating through this medium. That is the product of this instrument. And the reason why I can see your work evolving and staying with and even ahead of the time is because you were never attached to the technical component, or at least you recognized early on in your career that you weren't actually selling a photograph. You were selling an experience that happened to end with a photograph. And so, as any technical craft kind of develops over time and the tools to production, they get democratized, right? That's the word, the catchphrase that's used all the time. The tools to use the medium becomes easier. You drill down to the core of what the medium is. And so many photographers get lost in the technical side that they fall out of date. And I can put a timestamp on when they fell out of date by simply looking at their portfolio.
Yep. Yep.
And that's what I'm saying about your portfolio is so unique is you've adapted and it's still ahead of its time. And the reason why was because you never got attached to the craft and the medium itself. You understood that the photograph itself was just a medium for what the clients want to express. And because of that disassociation, you're able to simply keep up with the technology while your product is taking what your client's vision is and actually putting it into print. That to me is your product.
Yeah, and there's another little secret that you have to understand that was a blow to me too, or at least a eye opener, and that is that when you first start out, you're trying to win over you're making cold calls. You think that you need lots of clients, and that you have to be the jack of all. You have this diverse portfolio, and you want to win over everyone. That's what you think.
Yep.
And in reality, I can only physically do so many jobs every year.
Mm-hmm.
I can only do so many jobs.
Yeah.
So I only need so many clients. And so I can specialize, right? Because if, let's say I need 10 clients, realistically in the commercial advertising arena, I can probably do one ad campaign a month at best, because it's about a 3 to 4 week process for me to do an ad campaign.
Yeah, these are significant engagements for sure.
Yeah, I may only shoot 4 days, 5 days, but to get that to pull off, I need about a month to do it.
Yeah.
So so let's just say I do 10 to 12 ad campaigns a year. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So I don't need that many clients. So one of the things I learned is that I'm willing to take the risk of specializing.
Yeah, you don't need to speak to everybody because you can only serve 12 people.
But when you're starting out, you think that risk is too great because you got to put food on the table, right? Your kids are needing diapers, and you're like, I got to do everything. But so with time, you learn that I'm willing to take the risk to specialize, have a niche, to win over a small segment of people. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Small segment.
Yeah.